Have you ever walked into a room and felt the atmosphere shift even before you said a word? Have you noticed how some people are drawn to you while others seem unsettled, though you've done nothing to provoke them? This is not arrogance, this is not coincidence, this is power, a silent, invisible strength that emanates from your being. And if you recognize these signs in yourself, it may be time to accept what you've long suspected. Your aura is too powerful. You are not like everyone else, and that is your path, not your problem. Have you ever noticed that some of the most powerful people in the world say very little? They don't fight for attention. They don't rush to prove their worth. They enter a room, and something about them causes the air to shift. It's not their appearance, their money, or even their words. It's something deeper, something unseen. It is presence, it is stillness, and it is this very stillness that speaks louder than noise ever could. We are often taught that power is loud, that to be noticed we must be the most energetic, the most talkative, the most dominant. But the truth is, authentic power is quiet. It doesn't need to announce itself, it simply is. A powerful aura begins in silence. It is born from the stillness you cultivate within. This stillness is not laziness, it is not inaction. It is awareness, deep, alert, present awareness. And when you operate from that space, people can feel it. They may not know why they feel drawn to you or even uncomfortable around you, but something in them recognizes something in you. This stillness doesn't arrive all at once. It isn't gifted to us by age or circumstance. It's something we develop intentionally over time. We stop reacting to every trigger. We pause before we speak. We watch our thoughts instead of obeying them blindly. And gradually, we begin to feel something very rare in this world, a sense of space between what happens and how we respond. That space is the foundation of power. Think about how easily we are pulled around by the outside world. A message pops up on your phone, your heart rate jumps. Someone says something disrespectful, your pride leaps in. The news delivers bad headlines, your mind races with worry. In all these cases, what do we lose? We lose stillness. We lose the quiet strength that allows us to see clearly and act deliberately. Most people live in reaction. They are constantly moving, speaking, doing, hoping that motion will give them meaning. But in truth, motion without awareness is just distraction. Now imagine someone who carries stillness within them. Their breathing is calm. Their gaze is steady. They do not need to interrupt or outshine anyone because they are rooted in something solid. When others are anxious, they remain grounded. When others gossip, they stay silent. When tension rises, they breathe deeper. This is not because they are indifferent. It is because they have mastered the energy within themselves, and this mastery radiates out. Stillness is not something others always understand. In fact, many people mistake it for weakness or detachment. They may ask why you're so quiet, why you don't participate in drama, why you don't rush like everyone else. But the truth is, when you have found peace within, you no longer need the noise. You no longer need to prove or perform. You are enough as you are. This is why powerful auras often go unnoticed at first glance, because they don't demand to be seen. They allow themselves to be discovered. And when others do notice, it often leaves a lasting impression. Not because of what you did, but because of how you made them feel. You brought stillness into their chaos. You offered a reflection of peace they didn't know they were searching for. Many older adults, especially those who have lived through loss, hardship, or great change, begin to touch this stillness naturally. The drama of youth fades, the need to be right fades. What remains is clarity, Priorities shift from being heard to being wise, from being busy to being whole. And yet, even then, the world around us does not slow down. It demands our attention at every turn. But the invitation remains: return to stillness. This doesn't mean sitting in silence all day. It means learning to listen to your breath when others raise their voices. It means pausing before reacting. It means recognizing that you don't have to answer every insult or attend every argument. You begin to choose peace over pride, not because you are weak, but because you have seen where pride leads. You've seen the damage of thoughtless words and impulsive choices, and now you've chosen differently. Stillness also creates space for intuition. When the noise dies down, you begin to hear the quiet guidance within you. You begin to feel what is true rather than chasing what is popular. You trust your pace, your timing, your rhythm. You stop comparing yourself to others because you realize they are not on your path, and their urgency is not your emergency. In that stillness, you may notice how uncomfortable others become. Not everyone is ready to sit with their own thoughts. Not everyone wants to be in the presence of someone who doesn't validate their chaos. Your stillness becomes a mirror. And not everyone enjoys what they see in it, but this is not your concern. Your role is not to explain yourself to those who do not yet understand peace. Your role is to remain grounded, rooted, whole. The beauty of stillness is that it multiplies. When you choose to respond with calm, others begin to slow down too. When you refuse to be provoked, the energy in the room shifts. You begin to lead, not through authority, but through energy. Your presence begins to teach, and those who are ready will listen, not with their ears, but with their spirit. This kind of power is subtle, but it is unshakable. It cannot be taken from you because it is not based on what others give. It lives within you, it walks with you, it becomes your natural state, and when you walk into the world with that kind of peace, you are not just living. You are elevating the space around you, but stillness is not simply the absence of sound. It is the ability to hold space for what is difficult without collapsing into it. It is the ability to hear harsh words and respond with compassion. It is the strength to feel pain and still choose love. This is the power of presence, and the world needs more of it. As your aura grows, you will begin to notice something else. You start to affect people even when you say nothing. You enter a room and some people look twice, others turn away. They can feel something even if they can't name it. This brings us to the second sign of a powerful aura. Your energy triggers unspoken reactions. This is one of the most misunderstood realities of walking in your true energy. You are not doing anything wrong, and yet people may treat you differently. Some may feel nervous around you. Others may seem irritated. Still, others may seek your presence without knowing why. It is not always because of what you say or do. It is because of what you reflect. When you live in alignment, your very presence becomes a kind of mirror. You reflect back to others the truth they are avoiding. Your authenticity confronts their performance. Your calm confronts their chaos. Your humility exposes their ego, and for many this is uncomfortable. It is easier to be around those who reinforce their illusions than to be in the presence of someone who quietly exposes them. This is why powerful people are often misunderstood. You may be accused of being too serious, too cold, too detached. You may hear you've changed, or you think you're better than others, but you haven't changed. You've simply stopped pretending. You've stopped playing along with what doesn't feel true. You've stopped laughing at jokes that go against your values. You've stopped chasing approval, and now your very presence disrupts the games that others are still playing. This can feel lonely, especially when those closest to you begin to distance themselves. You may wonder, what did I do wrong? But the question is not what you did. It is what you became. You became clear, and clarity is often met with resistance. Because clarity sees through manipulation, through performance, through falseness, and not everyone is ready to be seen in that way. You must remember your energy is not meant to please everyone. It is meant to be true. The moment you begin to shrink yourself so others feel comfortable, you start to lose the very power that made you different. Let others react as they will. Let them feel uncomfortable. Let them misinterpret. It is not your job to make your presence palatable. It is your job to live in truth. At the same time, do not allow your awareness to turn into judgment. Just because you can see through others does not mean you must condemn them. Many are simply not ready. They are doing the best they can with what they know. Your presence is not here to punish, but to illuminate, to offer a higher frequency, not as a weapon, but as a possibility. You are not here to fix anyone. You are here to stand as a reminder of what is possible. When one leaves with awareness, some will move away from you. Others will be drawn toward you. Both are okay. Both are necessary because your energy is not neutral. It is catalytic. It activates what is dormant in others. And that process, though often uncomfortable, is part of growth. The more grounded you become in your authenticity, the more effortless this process becomes. You no longer take reactions personally. You no longer need to explain yourself. You simply allow others to feel what they feel and remain centered in your own peace. This is the quiet confidence of those who have walked through fire and emerged whole. It is the wisdom of experience, the grace of discipline, the humility of one who has faced themselves deeply. You do not need applause, you do not need agreement, you simply need alignment, and when you are aligned, your aura speaks for itself. It speaks in stillness, it speaks in silence, it speaks in the way people remember you long after you've gone. Not because of what you said, but because of how they felt in your presence, safe, challenged, awakened. There comes a moment in every life where the need to be accepted begins to fade and something deeper takes its place. The need to be whole. At first, this shift is subtle. You may not even notice it happening, but one day, the compliments that once excited you now feel hollow. The approval you used to crave begins to lose its power, and instead of asking, "Do they like me?" you begin asking, "Am I living in truth?" That is the moment you begin to walk your own path. It's not a loud or rebellious act. It's not about rejecting others for the sake of being different. It is simply a quiet recognition that the crowd, for all its noise and motion, is often lost. You start to see it. The way people chase trends, the way they trade authenticity for applause, the way they follow the loudest voice. Even when that voice leads nowhere and something in you begins to step back, not in judgment but in clarity. You are no longer interested in walking in circles just to stay in the middle. This shift can be both liberating and lonely, because the moment you stop seeking belonging in places that demand your silence, you often find yourself standing alone. And that is the paradox. Your path becomes clearer just as your company becomes smaller. The people who once celebrated you may begin to question you, not because you've betrayed them, but because you've stopped betraying yourself. You no longer laugh at jokes that make you uncomfortable. You no longer nod in agreement just to avoid tension. You no longer participate in conversations that drain your spirit, and it confuses people because for so long you were willing to blend in. Now you've chosen to be honest, and honesty, even when it is silent, unsettles the structures built on pretense. Older adults often know this shift well. With the passing of time comes the realization that life is too short to be lived as a performance. After enough disappointments, betrayals, and long nights of the soul, the desire to be liked becomes far less important than the desire to be at peace. And peace, true peace, cannot coexist with pretending. So you walk your path, sometimes in solitude, sometimes misunderstood, but always with integrity. And as you walk, you begin to understand something else. See, you do not need to be surrounded to feel supported. You do not need validation to know your worth. You become your own compass, your own anchor, your own quiet authority. And this, in itself, is a sign of a powerful aura. People may not understand why you've stopped attending every social event, why you seem more selective with your time, why you spend more mornings in stillness, or why you no longer participate in certain discussions. But the truth is, once you taste inner clarity, you cannot return to noise. Once you begin to walk in alignment with your values, every step that deviates feels heavy. It's not that you've become cold or distant, you've just become more intentional. This is not about isolation. It's about discernment. When you are on your true path, you are not interested in being everywhere. You are interested in being where you are meant to be. You are no longer driven by FOMO, the fear of missing out. You've replaced it with something deeper, the joy of not being where your spirit does not belong. This discernment strengthens your aura. People begin to notice, not because you're louder, but because you're clearer. You speak less, but your words carry more weight. You do less, but your actions have more purpose. You don't chase attention, but attention finds you. Not because you ask for it, but because your energy is unmistakably whole. But walking your own path also means becoming comfortable with misunderstanding. There will be those who assume you think too highly of yourself, that you've become distant or elitist. But you will learn to let that go, because you understand that people can only meet you from where they are, not from where you are going. And if you try to explain yourself to everyone, you will never move forward. Let them talk, let them wonder, let them interpret. You are not here to be decoded. You are here to be real. And with that reality comes another level of power. The ability to remain unshakable in chaos, because once you stop needing the crowd, you also stop fearing its judgment. You stop being controlled by the tides of opinion, the storms of gossip, or the winds of uncertainty. You become your own weather. You learn how to bring your own calm. This calm is not passivity. It is not surrender. It is strength, because nothing is more powerful than a person who has learned how to remain centered when the world around them is losing balance. We've all seen how quickly things can unravel. A single piece of bad news and the mind spirals, a sudden conflict and the heart races, a public mistake and pride rushes to defend itself. But for those who have cultivated inner stillness, these moments no longer hold the same power. You feel the wave of emotion rise, but you don't ride it. You notice the trigger, but you don't pull it. You observe the chaos, but you don't become it. This is emotional maturity. It is the wisdom to know that not everything deserves a response, that not every battle is yours to fight, that sometimes silence is the loudest strength, and that choosing peace is not weakness, it is strategy. Older adults often embody this strength in ways they don't always recognize. After years of surviving real-life storms, grief, illness, betrayal, financial struggle, they begin to lose interest in petty arguments and temporary disruptions. They know what matters. They've seen how quickly life can change, and because of that, they carry a quiet dignity into every situation. A sense of perspective that says, "This too shall pass." It is this perspective that strengthens your aura more than any book, any course, or any affirmation, because it is earned. It is lived, it cannot be faked, and those who encounter it can feel the difference immediately. People will test your calm. Life will test your calm, and each time you will have the choice, respond from ego or respond from clarity. The more you choose clarity, the more unshakable you become, not because life gets easier, but because you get steadier. You begin to learn that calmness does not mean avoidance. It means facing life with open eyes and a steady heart. You deal with challenges not by running from them, but by standing still and seeing them clearly. You confront problems, but you don't let them define your energy. You feel pain, but you don't become bitter. You grieve, but you don't lose hope. There is a great power in emotional restraint. Not repression, but restraint. Knowing when to speak and when to stay silent, when to act and when to observe, when to assert and when to surrender. These choices shape your energy more than you realize, and the more deliberate they become, the more magnetic your presence becomes. When your aura is powerful, people often feel safer around you, even if they can't explain why. They sense your steadiness. They feel your non-reactivity. They trust your ability to hold space for complexity without becoming reactive or controlling. And in a world that is constantly shouting, your calm becomes a sanctuary. But this sanctuary is not built in a day. It is built one breath at a time, one decision at a time, one moment of self-restraint at a time. And over the years, as these moments compound, you develop a kind of spiritual spine, an inner posture that does not waver when the world does. You'll notice how your definition of power changes. It no longer looks like being feared or admired. It looks like being consistent. It looks like being kind without being weak, firm without being harsh, present without being controlling. You begin to live with the kind of quiet confidence that doesn't need to be announced. And in that confidence, you are not moved by flattery or shaken by criticism. You don't rise too high on praise, and you don't fall too low on insult. You've learned how to remain neutral in the noise, not indifferent, but unhooked. That neutrality allows you to become more generous, more compassionate, more curious, because you're no longer defensive. You're no longer proving anything. You're simply showing up again and again in alignment with your highest values. When you are unshakable, it doesn't mean you don't feel. It means your feelings don't hijack your wisdom. You can experience sadness without becoming it. You can witness chaos without feeding it. You can acknowledge conflict without escalating it. You are not swayed by every mood, every tone, every slight change in energy. You are aware but not reactive. And this allows you to hold space for others, not from obligation, but from overflow. You are no longer giving from depletion. You are giving from fullness because your center is intact, your energy is clean, your boundaries are clear. You become the kind of person who brings calm to the room, who holds the gaze instead of looking away, who sits with discomfort instead of avoiding it, who chooses reflection over reaction, understanding over accusation, patience over panic. It is not that you are never shaken, it's that you no longer stay shaken. You've built the habit of returning. Returning to breathe, returning to purpose, returning to presence, and each return strengthens the signal of your aura. Others may never know what you've endured to reach this place.